Today is exactly 2 years that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into office. A lot has happened within that period in terms of economic reforms. Of course, from the beginning, we knew when subsidy was taken out, the impact and, of course, the ripple effect on Nigeria was very, very deep. Quite a whole lot happened within that period. And also, in the course of that, a lot of reforms have been undertaken. But indeed, how has that affected the livelihood of Nigerians? Of course, the cost of living is very high. And this segment will focus a lot more about the reforms in the area of agriculture. And of course, we also look at the inflation and of course the food inflation and of course the cost of living on Nigerians. But before we go into that conversation, we will look at a report that will actually summarize the reaction of Nigeria to the current economic reality. Before we go into that report, let me introduce my guest who is already in the studio. Of course, I am Yusuf Akogun, and my guest, Dr. Sam Omale, is the President CEO of Raw Global Investment Network in London. He joins me right there in the studio. Good morning, Dr. Sam Omale.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we are also expecting Dr. Joseph Douglas to join us also here in the studio. We also expect Dr. Ajisefini Ayodeji, who will be joining via Zoom from Lagos. We also hope to get Muktar to join us well to give us his reaction in the course of the program. But before we go into the conversation proper, let's take this report which summarizes the reactions of Nigeria to the last 2 years of the economic reforms.
When millions of Nigerians tuned in to witness President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's inauguration exactly 2 years ago, they anticipated a speech that would encapsulate the renewed hope he had promised during his campaign. But the president, in a single sentence, announced the sudden removal of fuel consumption subsidy without adequate compensatory measures. This singular decision and other economic decisions that followed have contributed to Nigeria's worst cost of living crisis in about 30 years, pushing millions of people deeper into poverty.
It's affecting all of us. When you go to the market, me na street I be, so I will give the experience like one from the street. I will not say because of this thing, but life is not easy. Everybody is complaining.
This government of 18, when they come, these 2 years, then I don't see anything where they do. Highest now the poverty just they increase every day. The government really poor. Well, they no get if they say make I rate Nigerian government inside 5 star, now half star go give them.
We go there inside market, morning till night, no work, no business, nothing they move. Here we dey hungry. We dey hungry.
We are hungry.
I never see 1 naira no dey in my pocket. See am since morning. Nothing there with me. I never even see food chop.
Analysts says the president, whom they admitted inherited an alien economy, took the decision without taking time to study his handover notes.
I don't think the masses have fared well. I will commend the president for taking tough decisions, like removing the fuel subsidy, floating the naira. Those are tough, necessary decisions.
The government, in a bid to alleviate the sufferings of the people, has rolled out plans, including cash transfer program, to cushion the impact of the twin policies. But these measures have failed to meaningfully address the current economic hardship.
No matter what the administration have done to ameliorate the suffering of the people, it hasn't worked, because these two policies were not properly and carefully implemented. All the accessories that were supposed to go with it to make it work were not done, are not yet being done. And I don't know when it will be done.
But the president loyalists say 2 years into Tinubu's administration, Nigeria is undergoing a bold recalibration.
A very difficult one, but there's a need for us to be more focused and be more optimistic that eventually after 4 years, we still have 2 years to go, that eventually after 4 years at least the reforms will fully gain traction, and Nigerians will begin to see the positive impact of these reforms and policies. But however, it has been a very difficult 2 years. We cannot lie about that.
My message to Nigerians is to be patient. We believe the president and this new government is serious, because they started with a bang, and I believe they're going to do a good job. So let's give them time.
Going forward, government is urged to design right-driven and people-centered policies, ensuring that human rights guide the formulation and implementation of significant policy changes. Yusuf Akogun, Trust Television News, Abuja.
Nigerians there reacting to the 2 years administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in terms of economic reform, and quite a whole lot has happened there. Of course, you saw quite a few reactions there in that very short report, but a lot of some reaction that did really make sense. Let me get a reaction quickly from my guest, Dr. Sam Omale, who joins me here in the studio. You listening to Nigerians raising concerns there about rating the government. I could even hear somebody say, over 5-star that you give the government half a star. What was your reaction to that report?
The reaction is natural because for every policy change, there will be consequences in the short term. And this is not only happening in Nigeria. If you remember in Thatcher days, 1979 to 1991, when Thatcher came on, he brought economic policies that were alien to the UK. If she privatized most of UK's institutions were government-run, rail, telecommunication, water, they were all government. And there was massive social intervention, social security intervention and all that. And she came in and privatized the corporations and the government institutions. And that raised a lot of reaction from the public. So in the short term, you are going to have that kind of reaction, and it will take time for changes, no matter how well-intentioned, to bed in. But they have to be taken. The same thing happened in Russia, where the guy said, whether it's black or white, he just wanted it to happen. She intervened and created, of course, a different reaction, because a lot of oligarchies were created when he tried to privatize, to move from socialist government to capitalist. So it will take time. In China, the same thing. Zhang changed so many things. I think there we've talked about later, how what we can learn from the Chinese.
Indeed, a very good one there. But let's look at the area of food security, which is the president did declare state of emergency in July, talking about of that same year. But given what we have had so far up to this point, do you think we have made progress in that regard?
Yeah, I think the food insecurity for a long time now, I think for me has been as a result of preservation and conservation of harvested food. A lot of harvested agricultural produce have been wasted on the farm, probably due to road network and all that. So there's still a need for a strong food policy or food dependence or food independence for us to begin to see the impact of any policy on agriculture that is coming to our table. But as of now, there's still clear policy on how to harness these harvests. In those days, we used to have the pyramid in the north. Now, so a lot of food are produced at certain seasons, at the farming seasons, at the harvest seasons, but they are not preserved and they rot away. You see them rotting away in the marketplaces. So there's need for a clear policy on preservation, conservation, and also on assurance to food producers that whatever food you produce, government is going to buy them, and government to store them and release them as the need comes. So there's a need for a clearly defined policy on agri-economy.
Clearly defined policy on agri-economy. And that brings me to the president's statement this morning. He only dedicated one paragraph to agriculture. And what he said is, agriculture and food security are top priorities of our Renew Hope agenda. We have launched aggressive initiatives to boost local food production, support farmers, and stabilize food prices. We have also invested in mechanized farming by procuring thousands of tractors, other farm tools, and fertilizers. Is this enough? Is this elaborate enough to educate Nigerians who are still suffering, who think that the government is not doing quite enough in terms of food security?
See, I'm a farmer's son. Agricultural produce or food security can be solved within a farming season. It should have been solved a year ago. It's possible. I mean, we don't have drought, we don't have drought, we don't have anything that will hamper harvest. The only problem that these things are all over the place. The tractors, who are they given to? See, those policies, if you want to assure farmers security, what does that mean in terms of, are you giving them grains? Are you, like I said, are you promising them that whatever you produce, the government will buy them? I mean, you have to be specific on how this is being boosted. And you should have two goals. Number one, food security and export. Food security means that everyone will be fed from what we produce. We eat what we produce. So you have to go to specializations. In the north, grain and tomatoes can grow well. In the middle belt, yam, tubers will grow well. Rice, grows. So you have to be specialized in whatever crop you want to produce. It's still not very clear. We don't need too many farmers to feed the country. We need only 5 or 10, but it's mechanized. So, but this one, they buy tractor, they drop one here, drop some. It's not cohesive. It's not comprehensive, and it cannot bring the kind of thing we're looking for.
People are always saying, how many Nigerian farmers can even afford to rent a tractor?
Well, that's the point. So, if government can, I don't know, they have to clearly bring policy that will help development of agriculture. It's possible. I think they were doing that kind of thing in Delta and Rivers and Kwara at one point. South African farmers, how many are there? And they export their goods. So we just learn what is working somewhere else. We don't need 1,001 farmers.
Is it a question of misplaced priorities? Are we channeling funds to the areas that shouldn't, that should be given less attention?
No, even what they are allocating for agriculture is fine, but it's management. You see, the problem in Nigeria, as we're going to see later, the problem really is not policy formulation, it's the execution. And what's happening in the execution is corruption. See, institutions that have been established to create about economic development and improvement are not working. The individuals occupying those institutions are stronger than institutions until we firm up the institution. Minister of Agriculture, this is your business model. This is what you are supposed to do. By the end of this year, we need this X tons of rice, X tons of this. And every staff of the ministry will go into the marketplace, into the field, to ensure that until we have a clearly defined agricultural policy, which should be along line specializations. We don't plant rice everywhere. There's a place for rice. It's part of the country that rice grow very well. There's a part of the country where that tubers grow, grain grow. And that's what we need, corn, grain, those things. And you go massively into that place and make tractors available to the big farmers. We need big-time farmers that will have staff within the farm place and begin to dwell on how to process all the ecosystem that within the agricultural firm. It's an area that can take us out of this economic quagmire in time, but it has to be coordinated. As of now, it's all over the place.
Absolutely. We need proper coordination in that regard. Let me bring in Dr. Ajisefini Ayodeji, who is an agri-business expert and, of course, chairman of Enterprise Grooming Institute. Good morning, Dr. Ajisefini. Dr. Ajisefini, if you can hear me, we're looking at the agriculture under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A lot has happened in terms of reform, declaration of state emergency of food security. We also see government have already gone back into food importation to create competition in the market. What can you say about what we have in the area of agriculture over the past 2 years of this administration? All right, we're still struggling to get Dr. Ajisefini online there. Coming back to studio, Doc, you have talked quite a whole lot about we not coordinating the agriculture sector properly. What do you think we should do? Don't you think a state should be empowered? In every state that you go, you have Ministry of Agriculture, but it does seem that we concentrate all the attention on the ministry, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture.
Look, states should take responsibility of how to feed their citizens. It's your responsibility. Most states in Nigeria are all agricultural parts of the country, and they need to be deliberate about how they improve agriculture. There's nothing difficult about it. Countries like the Netherlands, that is below sea level, as small as that country is, their food export is higher. The income from food exports is higher than the crude oil that we get in this country, as small as that portion of. So agri these days needs to be scientific, it needs to be to be organized for proper production. But as it is now, we're still very, very crude in our cultivation. We still use hoes and cutlasses at this age. We cannot go anywhere. It's so minimal. We cannot go anywhere unless it's mechanized, unless it's done on a large scale with a view to having exports and food security. You have to have a definition of what you want, and each state should be able to create that kind of atmosphere. You have to lead, and what's happening in Nigeria is a leadership vacuum. Nobody knows what to do with anything. It's just, people just wake up, just move about without having something to achieve within a day or within a period. And that's where the problem is.
Indeed. You say something that is very, very critical. The leadership is part of the problem.
That was it.
We have all the policies all over the places, but their implementation at the end of the day is usually very not something that one can actually write home about. But if you look at what some states have done in the area of agriculture in the last 2 years, a state like Niger, for example, where you single them out, the governor called himself farmer governor. He's more like a light to this government, if you ask me. Don't you think he's doing quite a whole lot that other states in Nigeria can actually borrow or learn from?
Yeah, I mean, that's the point I'm saying. You know, it's happening in Niger. There are bordering states like Kogi and Plateau and any other state, for example, can learn from there. You can learn from outside as well. As small as Rwanda is, one farmer is feeding the whole of the country with all its products. So they could just learn from each other and go into it. But like I said, there are no policy articulations. There are no policy directions. There are no, most of these governments or the governor, they came in without having a manifesto on anything. So they just found themselves in office without any policy direction. So they just made rain all over the place. They collect money from Abuja, pay salary, keep the rest, that kind of stuff. So otherwise, every state should be able to feed itself. There's no, there's no reason why there's poverty, the food insecurity in Nigeria. No need at all. There are no natural disasters. Soil, you can drop anything anywhere, it will grow. But there's no leadership in that direction. And that's the problem. There should be no reason why people should be hungry at all.
Do you think we are engaging the wrong people? Let's look at the sector we're looking at, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah. Over the years, a lot of people have said that we are appointing politicians to man that strategic ministry. Should you think we should, it's the right time we begin to look at technocrats to take charge of that very critical sector?
The problem of Nigerian leadership is multi-dimensional. You can appoint a politician there, but if he's a leader, that's fine. A leader comes in, what does he know about agriculture? What does he know about the ministry you have been put is going to head? What is the government expectation of each of the ministries? Are there targets? So the government is have to define the roles of each institution with a view to making each one of them what we call strategic business units. Meaning that the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, you have your mandate, for example, food security. Secondly, food export. Thirdly, digital agri or modern agricultural technology. And you are given a mandate that, for example, you are going to produce X number of tons of rice within the season, X number of tubers. You give targets, and if you don't meet it, you go. That's how things are. That's what they do to you at work. That's what everybody does. That's what they do to our students. If you don't pass, you don't go ahead. In Rwanda, that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that is done in every ministry that the government runs. In every ministry in Rwanda, as you go to the ministry, you see that there is a target for that ministry on their gates. So whoever you are, whether you're a politician, whatever you are coming there, you know that this is your target. And the government that employed you, that have engaged you, will look at that target. If you meet the target, you stay. If you don't, you resign. So these are the kind of things I'm saying. Every ministry in this country can be designed to work as a business, strategic business unit, meaning that they should be paying themselves. They should make the money and even pay themselves. They should create their own economy based upon that specialization. Every ministry, not even agriculture, every ministry should be made at that. It also has to come from the head to say, this is what I want. So there's need for us to define what are we looking for, what we want. That's what we're not asking. We're not asking what we want. People just go to the minister and begin to just sit down, and there's no... I don't like, that's how civil service is tough for me, because you go to the office there, you don't know what you're doing, and come out of the day. Whereas, if you're Minister of Agriculture, for example, you're looking at the latest technology in Agri. How is it that a tiny country like Netherlands, that is below sea level, has
Thailand,
earnings income from agricultural exports is higher than what Nigeria earns on crude. So you can see that Nigeria has a multiple layer of income that we're not doing anything. We're just staying like that because of lack of leadership and vision. That's all I say. So agriculture should be one of the strongest sources of our development in this country, because we have stable, arable land. We have everything is there for us to be net exporter of rice, of beef, of dairy products. I mean, in New Zealand, it means, say, our economy is dairy products. But our own cows are all over the place in towns, polluting the atmosphere. They're in the airport. They're all over the place. What kind of country is this? The cattle is all over the place.
Indeed, we are not taking that that industry seriously.
Exactly. So, and that should be in the realm of agriculture as well. We'll see the cows are lean, they're ugly, they're sick, and they're destroying stuff. So, we talk about agri. How can they thrive when cows go into the farmland and eat up the crops? How can it thrive when farmers cannot go to the farm because they'll be kidnapped or killed by bandits that are in the bushes? So we have to be serious about this. They come together, security, infrastructure, everything has to come in place for one sector of the economy to thrive. Agriculture, I think the main problem now is insecurity that's happening it, and also infrastructure like roads to farms. In a place in Kogi State called Ibaji, have one of the most fertile land in Nigeria. Their crops, the cassava stalks is like trees, but they harvest stuff every year and it's rotting there because there's no outlet. So you need road. Then government should ensure that they buy up every produce, and government should store this, preserve them, and begin to sell out in the times of need, like when the food is becoming scarce. So it's all management. That's the problem.
The bottom line is still come down to leadership.
Yeah,
because when you're talking about management, is the rest
leadership management. Leadership, then management.
Absolutely. But looking at what the farmers have gone through, but like the president said, they've been able to give out fertilizers, tractors and other farm tools to farmers. How much of a boost do you think this is going to give to agriculture? Or do you think this handout, like we do almost every time, will address our long-term problem?
Again, this is not even government's problem. You see, farming is a business. All government needs to do is enabling environment. So this tractor they are giving, are they giving freely? Or how are they giving on quota basis? How are they giving? Have you seen anyone that has been given these tractors? Have you seen anyone? I don't know anyone from my own place. I've not seen tractors in my place, even though we're highly agricultural. So the distribution of these tractors or farm implements should be coordinated, and if it's hired, if it's leased, whatever, the term should be given, and we should know, we should have a data of where they have been given, what part of the country received what, and also see the impact of such things in that place. But for now, I can't see, I don't know anyone who has received tractors. I don't know any.
Indeed. But let's move on and also talk about food inflation. Despite all the investment that the government is claimed to have done, we see food inflation still not really abating, although some people have actually acknowledged the fact that prices of food are beginning to come down, but not where they were when this government comes in. Do you think we should begin to celebrate too early?
Yeah, you can't celebrate food inflation, because if they're using the statistics for now, that would be wrong, because we're in harvest season. And But what gave rise to it? That's where we should look at. What gave rise to it? It means that there's fewer food being produced and it's costly. It's because agriculture has not been taken seriously. People have trooped into the cities and they are loitering over the street with doing nothing when they're supposed to be on the farmland. So people have been driven away from the farm because of herders people are losing their farmland and because cows have eaten up their crops. So that is the cause. Inflation, everything has a cause and effect. So as long as we're able to identify the cause of anything, you can deal with it. So the cause of food insecurity in Nigeria now is insecurity and that's affecting the farmers and also lack of transportation infrastructure that will bring the harvested crops and preservation. Until that is done, there will be, and of course the population is growing. So as long as we are not able to tackle with these issues of insecurity and preservation and technology that preserve the food, it will be going up. And there's also massive import of food into this country, which is a shame. We should be able to eat only what we produce. We have to task ourselves to that. We should not be importing oranges and all this stuff into this country at all.
All right, let me bring in my Zoom guest now. Doctor, hold your thought there. Dr. Ajisefini now is back online from Lagos. He joins us via Zoom from Lagos. Good morning, Dr. Ayodeji Ajisefini. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you on this panel discussion. Let's begin to look at, we've been discussing issues around agriculture. It's an area that are very strong at, talking about agribusiness and quite a whole lot. Talk to us about how you feel about government investment in agriculture in the last 2 years.
Thank you very much, and I think good morning to the guest, our doctor. He has said a lot. But I would like to pick from his point. First and foremost, today in Nigeria, we are out of the service of calling ourselves agriculture. We should look at it as an agribusiness. If we are to start by analyzing the challenges facing food security in Nigeria, number one thing is mindset. How many young people are now ready to go back to farm? Do we, as Nigerians, believe in our products? When we produce cowpea in Nigeria, export it to Ghana, re-import it back to Nigeria, and Nigerians will prefer to buy that one that is imported. Yes, the federal government can make policy. The Ministry of Agri are there to make policy for the generality. But what is the local level? Agribusiness starts from the local government, not from top to bottom. It is from bottom to top. Number one thing, mindset of our people. Are they ready to move from agriculture to agribusiness? What is the knowledge transferred?
Dr. Ajisefini, are you there? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Population of Nigeria is growing at 1,000 to 100. 1,000 to 1 person. Population is increasing, number of farmers are reducing. We have the old men and women cultivating what we eat. What is the impact of the youth? We will not blame the youth because there is not enough reorientation of their mindset that agribusiness is a process.
Seems to be having network issue there with Doctor. All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you hearing me? This present administration, if you are to appraise them, let's put it as a case.
We seems to be having a connection issues there with Dr. Ajisefini. There's something that he did pointed out. Okay.
Yes, it's a major issue that has discouraged farmers to go to their farm.
All right, the network issue there is still a challenge. He made mention about talking about developing the value chain of what we produce, which is very, very important. I mean, do you think we have infrastructure available to achieve that?
That's what the problem is. There's no infrastructure. That's what I was saying, that this farm products are being wasted. I mean, I was driving through Lokoja once and I saw heaps of oranges and mangoes rotting away. That should be so. That's where you get the orange juice from. That's where you get mango juice from. But there's no anything to storage to produce those things. So every agricultural product or crop has various value chains. Groundnut, there's oil, there's feed, all kind of things. Cassava, there's so many. Cashew nut, over 20 value chains. Kogi State produces about 75% of cashew nut, but it doesn't have a single
processing factor
in Kogi State. That's an area the government can focus on and say, look, nobody takes away the cashew nut from here. If you want, bring your machine here, establish it, so that we can have a higher income from it, and more people can be employed. So the value chains are not being utilized. Palm oil. We give palm oil to Malaysia. Malaysia net income from palm oil is higher than what Nigeria earns from crude oil. So Nigeria has actually multiple outlets or sources of import of foreign exchange earning, but we're not using them. And we're just in poverty. We're like the proverbial Achebes guy that stays by the side of the river and be washing his face with spittle. This country ought not to be where it is. Period. It ought to be a very, very rich country. This country can survive without importing anything. We can live by ourselves in every way if we determine to do so. And Agri definitely one of them. If we bring a policy, we only eat what we produce. Government bring that order out and ban every kind of import into this country. Orange, rice, everything, and we're going to produce. We can produce them. Then next year we're going to be exporting, and we'll begin to export, package them, and export. Believe in ourselves. So it's a waste. That's the point I'm saying, and it's very painful because we have capable people.
All right, who can actually do this job. But under the last government, there's some items, I think about 41 of them or thereabout, that were taken off the import list. But this government has restored them. Some of them on our import list. Do you think we are taking 10 steps forward and of course taking like 20 or 100 backwards?
Yeah, the policy consistency is one of the bane of economic development, and it creates also doubts in the minds of would-be investors if there's no policy consistency going on. Because when the items were returned back, what it means that it discourages production of those things at home because they're going to be competing with cheaper options.
Absolutely.
And if it's a temporary measure, maybe because food was scarce, whatever, I think they should change it because it doesn't encourage production at all. And people, and with the taste we have acquired in this country, anything foreign is what we want. No, I mean, say what that doctor was saying. We take something to Ghana and we bring it back. We come from Ghana and we start buying it. It's a whole job to be done.
The mindset needs to
even
be
It's
reset.
a whole job to be done to believe in ourselves. The sense of patriotism and nationalism is out of this country. Nobody is proud to be a Nigerian. You know, in those days when we used to carry the green flag and also I'm a Nigerian, you know, that kind of thing should come back to begin to believe in ourselves. And then it will follow on every other area of the economy.
I'm going to ask you that question, reason why Nigerians are beginning to be unpatriotic. I'll ask you that. But let me see if Muktar Muhammed is online now. Muktar Muhammed is the CEO of Finance with Muktar. Good morning, Mr. Muktar. All right, we don't. Good morning, Mr. Muktar. Let's welcome to happy 2 years anniversary to you. Let me say that.
Well, it depends on which side you are. So,
all right, let's look at the issues around cost of living in the last 2 years. How will you rate this government? I mean, it's been 2 years since Tinubu government came into office. We know what happened from the first day until these days. A lot of reforms are still ongoing. How will you rate this government?
you don't need rocket science to tell you what cost of living is. You know that cost of living has gone up by over 300% since they came in. So that is a no-brainer. It's the most easiest of questions that I can answer when it comes to cost. Look at when they came to power, what was the cost of PMS? At that time, it was less than 200 naira. We are buying it at almost 1,000. I averagely 1,125 according to the MBS report. So calculate that you are looking almost like over 300% increment. You look at household items, everything has gone up. Yeah, you look at exchange rate. Exchange rate has gone up by over 200% at when they came in. So definitely, when you look at these key drivers of Nigeria economy going this high, then you know where we are today as regard the cost of living. And the life of the average Nigerian has not improved when you look at what their take home at when he came in and now. It looks like if the take home is high, but again, when you look at the cost of living, you realize that the take home cannot even take them home any longer.
Indeed, the take home can't take us home any longer. And of course, the cost of living, some are saying, is killing the living. But in the midst of that, the president is saying that we have made some undeniable progress. How will you react to that?
It depends on what progress it is to the president. If it is progress in terms of removal of subsidy, we have so much money to share within the 3 tiers of government. Fantastic progress. Are we seeing the value of those progress on the life of the average Nigerian? Definitely no. Because again, if you look at the federal government, they've been able to do a lot of infrastructure. The president will be commissioning one today, that is the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Project. If you look at aviation, you could say it's a shining light. The government have been able to pay off and get some oil line back into the country. And you have to give kudos to the Minister of Aviation. It seems to be doing all the right things. Then you go to the Minister for Interior. It's making a lot of difference in the life of Nigeria, especially in the ease of doing business, getting passport, moving into visa clearance. Now, you look at the Minister for digital economy, the young man is doing a lot. I'm trying to move Nigeria to especially because this is an area that we have a lot of youths. And when you look at those one, the Minister for Works has done incredible work in terms of infrastructure and road network. So after that, when you look at all other aspects, I don't know what the president wants to take credit for at the moment, because like you say, the cost of living is high. When they came in, what was the exchange rate? What was the exchange rate now? We've even changed the grammar now. I heard the CBN governor telling us we have a competitive exchange rate. It's no more a stable exchange rate. I thought before we were talking about stable exchange rate. Now we are not talking about competitive exchange rate. So you get new terminology from this administration. It's in this administration that we had a cost of, number of high employed Nigerians has drastically reduced, because if you work 1 hour in a day, then you have a job. There are a lot of permutations that have not been right, but by and that, you cannot say everything is bad about the administration. But like I've listed some of those 4 key areas, and I think the administration have really done very well. But if you look at other aspects, I think they are struggling to make ends meet. And most of their struggle was just based on those 2 policies that the president did the first one was the mobile subsidy. I am an advocate of mobile subsidy, but again, how it was done without putting up some structures to make sure that the hardship that will come upon Nigeria was not this hard like what we have seen. Inflation has gone up by almost 38%. Forget about what they say about the rebasing. It's only in Nigeria you use rebasing to bring down inflation. You see that people like this man, one is also questioning those numbers because they do not tally with what is on the ground. So a lot of things economically has not gone well. But again, you could also look at some success story, the current tax reform bill. If it passed the light of day, the game changer, You also have to look at the naira to dollar swap deal that was done between for the make sure that refined petroleum product comes down through Dangote refinery. Fantastic deal. You also look at the stock market. They have benefited most from this administration. Recapitalization of banks are going on well. So it's not all bad. But again, the impact on the ordinary Nigerian, if you look at most of this policy I've just talked about now, they mostly impact the high level Nigerians, the rich class rather than the lower class, because cost of transportation has not come down for the lower class. That's why cost of petroleum product has come down. So I think in some area they have done reasonably well. Education, the educational trust fund that students have to have student loan, good initiation. Even if we have some issues, we have some complaints here and there, but at least some students are accessing those loans. So it's not all gloomy, but again, when it comes to food on the table, which is what every Nigeria wants to look at, it doesn't look good in that area.
Indeed, the president did say that the inflation is beginning to ease, and of course, with prices of rice and other staples already declining, don't you think the reform is beginning to gain traction?
Like I said, it depends on the market that the president is going to and the market that the president advisors are going to. When he said it begins to ease, what was the price when it came in? A bag of rice at the time Mr. President came in, I think it was about 30,000. Today, a bag of rice is almost 80 to 90,000. Is that the issue? Let's look at it. So maybe he's saying because before now the thing went to about 100 and about 100 over 100,000. So it has now come down to 90,000. To then if you say that's what is easing, fine. If you say inflation is easing because he has done rebasement, fantastic. That's what has brought down inflation. Stable food are coming down. Are they really coming down? Farmers are still not able to go to farm at this moment because of insecurity. So I don't totally agree with him. If he tells me because of all these things are easing after the price skyrocketed, I agree. That means from 100,000 naira, you cannot get a bag of rice between 80 to 90. Yes, that I agree. But when he came in, what was the price of a bag of rice?
That was a big question. Let me bring the question to my studio. Doctor, when the president came in, prices were a little bit stable, manageable. I think Nigerians were still surviving, even though we were still not satisfied with President Muhammad Buhari at the time. But 2 years down the line, I mean, we're singing a different song.
Now, because the policies that came on were inflationary by nature. The good intentioned, but by nature inflationary. And that's what has happened. So it's a fallout from the policies. It's not as if...
Are we ever going to go back to that level where we were before this government came in?
I don't see... It's possible. I mean, it's possible. Again, it had to depend...
Naira was just a little bit above 300 naira. No, a bag of rice was around 30,000 naira.
The case of currency strength is a function of import-export, period. If you close your economy and said, we don't need to import anything, your currency goes up. Because, in fact, the case of Nigeria is a peculiar case, because a peculiar one, because there's a commoditization of currency. Nigerians that earn Naira go to Zofor to buy dollar and put in the domiciliary account. I've never seen accounts anywhere in the world, only in Nigeria, that people store the value of their money in foreign currencies. So without importing anything that brings a chain of development to the economy, the Naira keeps falling down, falling, because there is high demand for savings in foreign currency. That shouldn't happen. There's no way else in the world where you go to open... Look, if you open a PAN account in the US, for example, the money that is coming in must go back to the dollar first before it goes to the pound. And if you want to withdraw pound, it will go back to the dollar before it comes to you. That way, there's nobody goes to have a PAN account, dollar account in one country. They don't do that. But in Nigeria, they have it. So the Naira will continue to suffer until certain drastic things are done. Number one, that domiciliary account stuff should get out of place. and the commoditization of currency must be done away with. Pricing must be done away
is it possible to make a dollar, for example? I'm just trying to say something that is abnormal, maybe in a way. To make a dollar like a currency that shouldn't be accepted in Nigeria, illegal tender, so to say.
Well, you can't force that through because of the demand. Because of the demand. I mean, if you are going abroad, you need extra code, you need money to be given to dollars. That's not the way to go. The way to go is, what are the sources? Why is dollar in demand? It's for importation of things that can be done here. Now, I see all the vehicles, the Chinese vehicles that are in Nigeria. They're not manufactured here. So go to Japan and tell them, we need cars, but made in Nigeria. Bring your factory here. That's what America is doing. That's what every other country does. So as long as your consumption is foreign-based, you're not going to compete with your dollar, with your currency. Because normally, countries devalue. In fact, the Nigeria is a special case. You can't devalue a currency when you are not a net exporter.
Exporter, absolutely.
That's the point I'm saying.
When you don't produce.
When you don't produce. Because you have made the trouble, you have made the more complex.
But sometimes we try to, compare ourselves to countries like China, who devalue their currency purposely to attract a lot of people to their commodities.
Yeah, so if you are going to devalue your currency, you must have massive export. Must be exported so that people can come and buy because it's cheaper. And most governments fight against devaluation of the currency because it takes jobs from their place, because people will be rushing to buy your item. But Nigeria, that's not the case. So what were we doing in the 80s and even up to 93, 94 that our currency was strong? It's because the demand for foreign things were not there. Our education, everybody's school there. In fact, in my time, if you came from America with an American degree, we didn't recognize you. Yeah, in our time, during youth corps, we know which university you went to. Those people that came from abroad, especially from America, we didn't recognize them. But now everybody is going out for education.
Absolutely. And now we even prefer those degrees from America.
No, you see, so that is why our values, our products are going down by the day. Our education system is gone. Parents pay school fees. Most people that live in Nigeria, children are living abroad.
Absolutely.
So that's the problem. That's the problem. No monetary policy can solve that.
Can solve that.
No.
Indeed. Absolutely.